Today we're talking A Man Called Otto.
Yeah, and I'm not crying. You were crying, like, the entire time.
Sure, Kevin. I was there, I saw. Welcome to the latest episode of the Finding Good podcast with Kevin and Milton.
All right, well, welcome to the Finding Good podcast.
Yes.
You know, my name is Kevin.
I'm Milton.
We're talking about A Man Called Otto.
Yeah.
A movie that had, I'll just admit it from the top, I bawled the entire time, and I was like, what did Milton invite me to? like this is exhausting.
Yeah. Now, listen, I'll admit I was doing the same thing.
Yes.
Okay. When I saw it with you, it was the second time I saw it, so I was kind of ready for the emotions. But the first time I saw it with my wife, wow, it hit me hard. Now, some people are new to the podcast. You're Kevin, I'm Milton. We're just two guys who talk movies, and we watch movies, and then we go a little bit deeper into some of the themes to try to grow and learn, and we share those conversations with you.
Yeah, and in order to do that, we do want to talk about the full movie at large. So if you don't want spoilers, if you really want to know what doesn't happen in the movie, you might want to go see it first and then pop on back here.
Yeah. So, and of course, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff.
All the things.
Yeah. Now, when you walked into this movie, what were you expecting from watching the trailers and seeing all the stuff? What were you expecting?
Well, first of all, Tom Hanks is getting older.
Right.
And so he's playing a older man in this movie, and I was expecting it to be like grumpy old men. Just, you know.
You know that movie?
Yeah. And Grumpier Old Men.
Oh, those
the
are
sequel.
great.
Great movies.
So good.
But that kind of feel, you know? It's just like, there's just everything sucks and you suck and my life sucks and we're going to make jokes about it.
Yeah, right. And we're just going to laugh along as these old men try to do young things probably or be mean to young people and make fun of them for their worlds or whatever. And it was not that.
No.
I mean, we find an old man who obviously has lost his wife, right? And he doesn't want to live anymore. He's canceling his electricity, he's canceling his gas bill, he's canceling all, and he's going to take his life.
I think
that first scene where he tries to hang himself.
Right. I was like, no way they're going to go, because it just felt very shocking.
Yeah.
To me, like no way are they going to go there. And then he's going through it all, and then he does it.
Right.
And then unsuccessfully.
Right.
And so we'll leave a little bit out there for you if you haven't seen it and you're still watching. But he's unsuccessful at it, and I remember just being like heartbroken for this man that he's gotten to this point where it's like, that's it. There's nothing else to live for.
Right.
And we're done.
Yeah. And the contrast in the emotion of the movie was what got me, because they introduced all these goofy characters to you, like the store manager at the hardware store who doesn't know anything about like making change, and you know the weird dude who's doing his weird exercises in the front, the little girl with the foofy dog that poops on everybody's lawn, and you know it's just like,
he's like, well, one of you did it.
Yeah, and you're just like oh, this is gonna be like the old man amidst all the goofy characters, and then you just have this serious moment, and you're just like, wow, where is this film going? And it just grabs you, and it just doesn't let you go.
And I would say the emotion wasn't, I mean, nobody wants to hear, oh, you'll go to this movie and cry for 2 hours. Nobody's like, sign me up.
Right.
Let's do this. I don't think it was a sad cry. I think it was just a very heartfelt, deep, emotional connection cry.
Yeah.
It felt, it didn't feel sad and heavy to me, per se.
No. There was, even in the midst of all of it, there was always this feeling of something good's gonna come out of this.
Yeah.
You know, and then when the movie pays it off at the end, and you're just like, that's where it got me. Like the finale, when, you know, we kind of get to the conclusion, okay, we won't give all the spoilers away. And then, because he has this great experience with this family that moves in, and kind of how that all comes to its beautiful wrapped up moment at the end. That's where it was just like waterworks, like, my goodness. And, you know, the movie is about legacy, it's about hope, it's about community, it's about our current world, and even we love to bash. Well, we don't love to, not we, you and me, but
I love
older people love to bash, our social media,
sure,
driven world, and yet it plays such a great part in this movie on how it comes to its conclusion, how the problems are solved. I don't know, it just had everything I wanted in that moment out of a movie. It had feel good, it had drama, it had nostalgia,
it had pain and loss.
Yeah.
It had a lot of emotion. One of the biggest themes that I pulled out, and maybe you can share yours too, was just the ability to see people through their negativity.
Okay.
And this is one of the hardest things for me to do. And here's what's interesting. I grew up around a lot of negativity.
Okay.
And so I have shifted to the pendulum of be really super positive, but I also struggle with a lot of negativity in myself. So it's this dichotomy of fighting of be overly positive and this is really annoying and I'm going to be negative in this situation. And I just saw a lot of my future in Otto. I'm I could totally be this guy.
This is going to be your face in the future, right there.
That's
the grumpy
my face now.
The grumpy look.
I had a coworker.
You beat me to it.
I had a coworker who came with me just last week, and she's like, Kevin, and she doesn't work with me at all. She's like, I can just sense that you're super frustrated. And I'm like,
okay.
I'm like, whoa. I mean, that's a heart check when someone you don't interact with or work with on a regular basis is feeling your presence of negativity. That's oh, maybe I need to pull it back a little bit and find some positivity.
And that's beautiful, that one scene in the movie where the family comes in and, he helps them park the trailer and everything, but of course he does it in his grumpy way. Right. And then they come and try to bring him some food, and then he's trying to close the door on them, and she's just like, are you always this unpleasant?
That's right, yeah. She
and he's
calls him out right away.
I'm not being unpleasant. With the unpleasant look on his face.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you experienced. You didn't even know that you were being that guy.
Right.
How many times does that happen for us where we're so stuck in what we want? We're so focused in where we're going and what we're trying to accomplish. We don't even understand the vibe that we're giving off.
Right. Yeah.
And I fight this a lot at my church. No, well, I'm giving the impression that my church is bad. I should say in general.
Yes. Well, you do have people. You'd have people that go to your church.
Right, but and my church does pretty well with welcoming people. But it's so important that we don't give off the vibe that our preparation for worship, getting the instruments right, and or our preparation in setting up the coffee stand, and all that stuff, that would take precedent over this person who's walking in right now and just needs to be greeted and made feel welcome, right? Yeah. And make sure that the vibe is never, this thing that I'm doing right now is more important than you over here. Mm-hmm. Give off the vibe that I would drop this in a heartbeat if you needed me.
Right.
And that's the vibe that I want to create. And I want to be that person too.
And I think that's what was so emotional about this movie is that you saw all these characters that you talked about that are kind of floating around Otto's world, but none of them are intersecting Otto's world. None of them they're just kind of existing around him.
Well, they're a nuisance really to him. Wow. He sees them as a problem, like flies.
And to be fair, they're avoiding him as well.
True.
Because he's super negative. So they're like, hey, shut up. Okay, I'm out of here, Yeah. Where she, where her neighbor, or his neighbor, she took it upon herself to say, no, I'm going to insert myself into this life, and he will be nice to me, and I will not take no for an answer. And why is he not nice? I want to discover it. Yeah. And she actually befriended Otto, where he hasn't had that in his life. And so it's just this weird, you're a grumpy old man, and I don't care, and I'm going to love you anyway, and we're neighbors now, deal with it. And here I am.
How do you feel about that approach, honestly?
I loved it.
Okay, you did.
Yeah, because what it's doing is it's doing what you were saying. we are putting people over presentation. And I think a lot of times our life needs to be presented very orderly. Like if we let someone in who's negative, we're just going to assume they're going to take over my life and my life's going to be depressing and I'm going to have to spend hours, hanging out with this guy or trying to change this guy. And I don't want that. I don't have room in my life for you. Yeah. And you miss the person. But I love that this was representative of like, no, I've got room in my life for someone as messed up as Otto. How awesome.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is from his perspective, everyone else is messed up.
Yes, right. Yeah.
He's not the messed up one. He's got it all together. He's got his routine. He goes out, he checks all the parking spaces, he makes sure all the recycling is right and everything. And everybody else is just throwing their lives away with foolishness. And then he allows, like you said, he allows their mess to come into his world. Like when the transgender student, his wife's student, comes and says, I need a place to stay, right? And he's like, this isn't a hotel. Right. And the person's like, okay. And then he realizes, like, I got to do this. And he allows that mess. Because it is a mess. It's someone who just got kicked out of their house, doesn't have, is struggling with identity, doesn't, is trying to save money to get a car. It's just like this is the epitome of mess right now. Right. And okay, let me bring that mess into your life. And I want to say, because I relate so much to this family. It's a Hispanic family that comes into Otto's life.
Right, yeah.
And I told you when we watched the movie, like, that lady, I have like 50 of those in my life, okay? 50 of her.
Which is awesome. If you haven't seen the movie, she's incredibly just like boisterous, I guess is the word. I'm trying to think of the word. She's just animated. She's loud. Yeah. She's demanding of attention.
A little stereotypical Hispanic woman. But stereotypes exist for a reason. I mean,
if you turn to me and go, I have 50 of these in my life.
No, I do. But here's the beauty, and I wish there's few films that talk about community that insert this part of community in, which is, in most films that I've seen, community usually means like, here, we have this problem, we all come together and we kind of solve this problem. Mm-hmm. This part of community was like when community becomes annoying.
Ooh, yeah, right.
Because let's be honest, a woman who just comes in the middle of the day and says, I need you to teach me to drive. Right. Like, you're what? Like that's not normal. Right. Like, but to me, that's another level of community. It's a depth to the community. We got to go to the hospital. I need you to take me right now. Like, it's not planned. It's not, I'll meet you for dinner at 5. It's like, here's the thing. Let's go.
It's almost like she was training him to love.
Yeah.
And she was like, you're going to do this by doing it.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about it. I'm not going to wait for you to figure it out. It's just, this is what happens. I'm so used to this being my life. You're now part of it. Let's go.
Yeah. And how much Otto needed that, how much we need that, because for Otto, and he even said it, my wife was everything. He admitted it. He didn't use those exact words. I forget what it was in the script, but he basically said, when she died, my love died.
Yeah.
Right? And she dies in the movie. Not in the movie. She dies before the movie.
Yes.
There's a backstory. You'll see it. Anyway, watch the movie. It's good. And how much his life became so much more when he realized he could love beyond her. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He could love this family. He could love his friend that he was estranged from because he drove the wrong car.
Yep.
Which is another great theme of this movie, like the things that we allow to get in the way of relationship. And sometimes they're so stupid when we think back at them. Right. But anyway, the amount of love that he was able to give once he allowed himself to do that, because we do have enough love in us for more than one person.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And usually we only have enough love for ourselves. But it has to go beyond us ourselves, it has to go beyond our spouse, our children. Because really, if this world is going to get any better, in any way, it's gonna take, more connections, more loving realities.
Yeah. A good gut check is, am I seeing others well? Am I seeing their needs? Am I seeing a need? Am I fulfilling that need? And am I seeing and caring for those around me? And Otto was so self-absorbed in his pain and hopelessness that he was missing everything around him. Everything was just in the way and an annoyance and a distraction for what he was heading towards, which was death and finality.
Yeah.
And it didn't take much for him to open up and start providing needs and seeing others, and through that found life and happiness and purpose and all these things that no longer required a final decision.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
The scene when they're in the cafe, when he's with the Hispanic lady in the cafe after he gives her driving lesson.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And he says, my wife was the color in my life. Before her, there was no color. And of course, now she's passed, so the color is gone. And I can imagine anyone who's suffered that level of loss understands what that feels. I can't say I have. I can't say that I've had that experience. I'm sure if my wife passed away, it would feel something like that. So I also don't want to give the impression that we're saying, like, get over it. Like, there is a process for dealing with that level of loss, losing the color in your life. Can you imagine walking around this world and not seeing color? That's where Otto was.
Yeah.
So that process has to go through, and we did an episode on grief. That was really important. But know that one of the solutions to getting color back into your life is to open up to others.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and Hispanic people, they will bring all kinds of color into your life.
And food. Lots of really good food.
Oh, apparently. Man, those cookies, man, I wanted some.
That's absolutely.
But yeah, letting people, because people bring color. They're their own thing. If you think about it as like crayons, like each of them is a different color. Allow those people into your life. Yeah, we have to have boundaries. Yeah, we have to do all that stuff. But the risk of just saying, okay, come in, let's see what happens, right? And just having that experience, it's so beautiful. I've seen it. I've seen people who've suffered great loss and have allowed people to come into their pain. And it doesn't take away the pain for sure, but it makes it a little bit more bearable. Because you're doing it with those people. Yeah.
Well, it's a great movie. A lot of just good reflection on making sure that you're surrounding yourself with community, letting people in, and also seeing others.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that does it for this episode of the Finding Good podcast, Man Called Otto. We highly, highly recommend seeing this movie more than once.
100%.
So like, subscribe, smash that bell so you know when the next episodes are coming. More movies coming your way with our discussions, with your reflections and your comments. Can't wait to see you next time.